Welcome to the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay. This is your positive path for spiritual living.
Hey there! Before we get started, we have some exciting news. We are welcoming back our longtime friend, Deepak Chopra, on Saturday, September 26th for a special online event. Deepak is launching his new book called Total Meditation: Practices in Living the Awakened Life. He'll be discussing his new book, guiding you in meditation, and taking questions during this live online event. Head over to unityonthebay.org to register. And as a special thank you, we'll ship you a free copy of his new book. See you on September 26th.
So I just want to welcome everybody. This is tea time. My name is Jason Weeks. I'm a staff member at Unity on the Bay. And my guest this morning is Amy Baez, and she's just sharing this on her Facebook page so we can build a greater audience and get people connected. I see you shared it, Amy. I got a little notification.
It's the watch party. I didn't realize I had to press watch party.
That's awesome. So good morning again.
Morning.
I'm so happy that you reached out to me and said, I want to be a guest on Tea Time, because I think the topic we're talking about today is so important. I know it's important for me because I tend to be all work and no play, and I have to remind myself constantly, take a break, do something fun, reconnect to that child within myself. And I think you're going to have some nuggets of wisdom for us this morning on how to do that.
I hope so. Well,
I know you will.
Yeah, I think it's a topic that a lot of people don't really think about very much. And especially during this crazy time right now, I think it's really something that could be helpful to people. I know it was helpful for me, even though it's a part of my everyday life, to learn about it in a different way. There's a lot of light bulbs for me.
So. Can we start with a little introduction? Can I introduce you? Is that okay for you?
Yeah, go ahead. I bet I sound amazing.
I know you personally. I know you're amazing. Okay, so let's start here. I'll read this little bio I have for you. Amy Baez has a master's of occupational therapy and 20 years experience as a pediatric occupational therapist, as well as a professional speaker, storyteller, spoken word artist, educator, and 3-time author. Do you even sleep?
Sometimes.
You can view her weekly on her YouTube channel, Playapy, which currently has over 100,000 views. At Unity on the Bay, this is one of my favorites. At Unity on the Bay, she serves as the chair of the ambassador team and the Building Our Future Care and Communication Subcommittee. You may also recognize her as one of the platform divas, as well as the recipient of the 2018 Exemplary Life of Service Award. Wow, that's an introduction.
I sound amazing, right? I'm a good writer.
You are, and you've done a lot for Unity on the Bay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So anybody who's just joining us right now, this is Tea Time, and the way it works is you write your questions in the comments section of this feed, and we'll try to get them answered. Today's topic is the spiritual practice of play. And so Amy and I are going to be talking about the importance of play and just how it's a vital part of our well-being. So Amy, since Unity on the Bay is a church, I wanted to start with this verse from the Bible, which I think is that is related to our topic today. So in Matthew's chapter 18, verse 3, it says, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like a little child, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." And at Unity, for those who don't know, we interpret the Bible metaphysically and not literally. So that speaks to me in the way that I think we need to become playful in our lives in order to live this peace and this happiness here on earth. What do you think about that?
I think so. I mean, I think really partly, particularly that message is really about probably shutting down the mind a bit and going back to that childlike state. We don't have a lot of worry, and there's not too much concern about the future. You're just kind of in the moment. And a lot of times that's what we're trying to achieve through meditation and prayer. And so to me, play is that just another tool for that. I mean, you can do the same thing and achieve the same results through play. And so I think, especially with children, that's kind of like, that's where they live, right? That's their mode of operation. Kitty. She hears us talking. She's like, I want to participate in this conversation.
That's fine.
So they, so children really do have, their occupation is play. I mean, that's why I work in the world of play as an occupational therapist. Which we didn't touch on yet, but basically it's a medical field where we help people to regain independence or achieve skills that they may be delayed in, which is what I specifically do with children. And we use their occupations in life. And children, their main form of learning is through play. So I think in the Bible, when it's talking about becoming like children, it's going back to that state of innocence and wonder and awe, and being in that state in order to achieve the goal of heaven and that peace and loving feeling that we want to feel all the time. So that's how I would interpret it.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you. I would say that when we are able to live more free and playful, it's a sign that we are trusting the universe and that we are putting our faith in that God is good all the time, like we say at Unity. And there's really nothing to worry about in life because the higher power that we call God has it covered.
Mm-hmm.
And that Bible verse in particular always sticks with me because it's a reminder. Listen, you have to become like a child. Play, be a little carefree. Don't take life so seriously.
Exactly.
So you had, obviously you and I had a little talk before this call, and you had mentioned to me something that I've never heard about, and it piqued my interest. Play personalities.
Yes.
Can we dive into that?
Yes. I'm going to do something really quick. I'm going to let her outside so that she can let us have a conversation. Which I thought I should have thought of this earlier. Now,
bye, Kat.
So there's a book by a man called Stuart Brown, who is the play advocacy. He's the founder of the Institute for Play, and he's a leading researcher around the topic of play. And he created this idea of play personalities. And for me, it was particularly mind-blowing and altered a lot of my own thought perception of myself. And why I say that is because back years ago, I used to feel like I was like and sometimes I do still call myself like a workaholic, right? But I would have people telling me that, and I started to internalize that as if it was really true. It was a bad thing too. And so I started to feel almost like a fraud because my business name has the word play in it. So I'm like, do I not play enough? Am I not a playful person? And I started to believe that in some ways. But then I realized, I'm like, no, I just play in my own way. I don't play in this traditional way that they see play is described as. And so in this book, he talks about how adults have these personalities and that they act out play in. And so just if you're familiar with, I'm sure you are, with the book, the audience is familiar with the 5 love languages. They talk about how, you know, we all love to receive love in different ways, but there may be a primary way that we like to receive it. So give it. And so the same thing with this is that you might have a primary way that you like to play, but you probably play in many different ways. So the play personalities really showed me that I do play all the time. And I just wasn't seeing it as like noticeable because I wasn't playing board games, right? Or I'm not a gamer. So I'm not against play in any way. I just do it in my adult way. And what's interesting too is that often how we play as children will lead how we play as adults as well. So there was 8 personalities, and I like to remember them in alphabetical order because it's easier for me to remember. But the first is artist creators, which is pretty obvious. It's people who like to create things, are typical artist people. If you're like a maker person. So I see that a lot in myself. I mean, obviously I have a YouTube channel. I like to make videos. So that's one way of doing things. Another is collector, people who have to like to collect things. And so I know for myself, I have a little collection of like ceramic dolls that I've bought in different countries when I travel. And that's just kind of my little way of having a collection of things that make me happy. And another personality are competitors. So those are the people who do normally like to things, right? They're the ones who, and I can be competitive. If you ever play a game with me, I am so hardcore competitive that I may actually make it not so much fun. But there's our competitive people, and not just necessarily that you're the doer, but you also may be a watcher. So people who love to watch sports and get really into it, those super fans who dress up in their, you know, their painted faces and tailgate, those are competitor type of players as well. Another one are directors, which I think is really interesting. Those are the people who like to organize events and create different, you know, they like to do the step-by-step. Those are, I tend to fall in that category sometimes too. Explorers. I love being an explorer. So people who love to travel the world and find new things, or just go into their own city. A lot of people are doing that now, where they're exploring Miami and going into the nooks they never looked at before. So their way of playing is through exploration. And I would be like an Elon Musk type of a person if you were going to put it to a celebrity. Another one is jokers. People who like to tell jokes, right? Well, we have Reverend Juan is known for that.
Yes,
so people who like to do just, you know, people are silly, people who like to share gifts and things like that, funny videos. Their mode of play is probably joking around, tease in a loving way. Another is kinesthetes, which are people who love movement, who like to dance and play in that way. Maybe you're really into yoga or exercise, and that's your release mode. So those are the kinesthetes. And then the last one are storytellers, people who love to engage in telling stories and also listening to stories. So I think I was telling you yesterday that, you know, people who love to watch their soap opera and maybe even reality TV, that's their way of playing, that's their escape, and they kind of shut off and they're just into that world. And so that's another type of play, although sometimes not entirely, but it can be, right? It just depends on their perspective. So when I thought of playing that way, like I was like, oh my gosh, I play all the time. And I don't think people realize that they do. And if they think of it that way and try to find healthy ways to engage in that way, then they are going to see that they are players, and that they can use play in order to make their life a lot more fun and engaging and just happier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you were saying this, and the thought that came into mind was, some of these overlap for people. Like you were saying, I'm some of this, I'm some of that. And some of the ones that you mentioned, I'm like, yeah, like I love to joke around. I love jokes. I love puns. I
Yes.
also love to create. Yeah, we all know this. The good, the bad, and the ugly. But I also love creating things. And so, you know, I when I knew that we were going to do this tea time, I looked at my life and I'm like, how much time do I actually spend playing? And I was like, not that much. But now that you're saying this, I'm like, yeah, I do play, because I got to tell you, if I get the opportunity to do a spreadsheet or create a video, I'm going to create that video. It's fun.
Right.
And I love the process, and I love the journey, and I love the destination of it. So this is good news.
Yeah, and it's often how we connect with other people as well. I mean, we often have friends who are similar to our play styles. And if they're not, it's a great way for us to create that connection as well. So I think you're, you know, I actually created a video, I haven't posted it yet, but one about this topic and how parents can do that with their children. So, you know, there's people who don't really feel like they're that playful, or they don't want to sit down and play with their kid in a normal way. But if they think about what they like to do and their kid likes to do and try to combine those two things in their styles, they can play together. So, you know, for example, if you are the explorer type and, well, let me flip that. If you're the maker type and your kid is the explorer type, maybe you can create a passport for them of the city. And then every, you know, location that you go visit in your city, you can give them a little stamp. And so, you know, you're getting to do your creative little maker thing while they get to explore. And then you're sharing that experience together. And so I think that is a way that adults can really engage and play, not just with children, especially if you don't have children, but even with their partners. You know, like you can combine your interests in order to play together. And that's going to lead to a much happier and healthy relationship as well.
You know, I was going to ask you that question, how this plays out in relationships. And I see now what you mean by like the love language thing. It's like, if you know somebody, how somebody else plays, you can use that to connect with them in a deeper way.
Well, there's that saying, like those couples that pray together stay together. It's like, just flip it, you know, it's the couples that play together that stay together. And so, yeah, I mean, imagine if you're not doing anything that you like to do play-wise, or if you're not recognizing that person's, you know, way that they play, it's going to be a sad interaction, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's such a huge part of our life and what our joy, right? So, I mean, to me, play is kind of equal to joy. And so if you're not participating in joyous experiences with your partner, then you're going to have struggles in that. So why not try to figure out what their personality might be? And well, first you have to recognize your own. I think that's important. You know, to try to see what you do, like, or how you are, and then, you know, try to think about theirs, and not just doing it, you know, analyzing them by themselves, by yourself. Like, you should probably talk to the person. Ask them how, you know, what they think and how they like to play, and then see if you can create in that world. And if there are things that are not that you love to do, like, for example, not to out Ezequiel, but my partner, but he's not a dancer, you know, but I love to dance. So I tend to be a movement, but I'm not going to force him to go dance with me, right? I might just go do that on my own, you know, take a class on my own, or find people who do like to do that, and then find a different type of play that's more what he would enjoy, as opposed to forcing someone into play that they don't really like to do. So, so you have to be, yeah. I remember when I was a kid, my best friend at the time was still a really great friend of mine. We were like, I met her when I was like 9 years old. And every day she wanted us to play board games, like every day. And so
was it Monopoly?
Monopoly, Life, like all of them, Sorry, all these games. And it was like an all-day marathon every day, especially in the summer when, there wasn't much else to do. Luckily, she had a pool, so we could vary it up a little bit. But, it was a lot. And I like board games, but I had to like vary it up a little bit. And I was more, like I said, a movement type of person. So I started having friends who like to do dance routines. So we started having, these dance competitions in the backyards. So I didn't stop being friends with her. I just would vary it up a bit. So I got to spread my play in different ways so that it wasn't being abusive. So, but I think that's important because you also don't want to be only doing one thing, right? And so, and I think that's why when people feel like they're working all the time, you have to figure out ways to bring play into that experience so that you're not making it an unhealthy lifestyle. Like people who work all the time are not healthy, but people who only play aren't really healthy either, because it can get to be, to a point where you're not productive at all. So you have to figure out a way to balance it out and work it in there.
I'm going to look in the comments section for some questions, but before I do that, I just want to say when our gala comes up, I better see you on the dance floor now that I know that's one of your plays. I'll be watching you, Amy. Okay,
Yes.
So let's look in the comments for some questions. And good morning to everyone who's joining us again. So good to have you here. Scarlett Clark has a question/comment. She says, when I'm not playful, it is because I am in fear. How do you guys deal with your fears? Fear of losing something you think you have or not getting something I need?
Wow, it's a heavy question. I think for myself, I just try to remember that fear isn't really healthy for me. I tend to be a person who's really productive. And so I think about like, how much am I going to get done in this mindset? So if I ever feel like I'm sad or I need to spark joy in some way, I usually will seek some sort of playful outlet, whether it's just putting on music and having like a little dance break, or deciding, I want to spend my time in something creative today. Maybe I might just kind of paint something, I mean, it sounds really random, but I really do that. It doesn't have to be like a painting of a portrait or something like that. I mean, like, just like a piece of wood, just to get my mind somewhere else. So I usually just try to take my mind to a place where it's not thinking. So that's my kind of form of meditation. I don't seem to do well in just like a sitting meditation that's just complete silence. I know that there's people who will spend a lot of money to go on a retreat to just be silent. And to me, that's like torture. Like, why would I do that? And I thought about it in the past. I've been like, some people convince me, like, maybe I do need to do that. And I'm like, no, I don't, because I know that's not where my joy is. So if anything, I'm going to go somewhere and be like, I wish I was exploring the grounds outside. So maybe instead I'm doing like a walking meditation, or because I'm a storyteller, I like meditations that are storytelling based. I like when people are talking during their meditation. I can definitely get more into it then. So I think seeking out and using the tools that we know about at Unity, we talk a lot about prayer and meditation as our tools for getting out of this state of fear. I think seeking out those tools, but figuring out which one is best for you. And I always add in and play. So prayer, meditation, and play, And so what am my modes of play that are going to instantly take me out of that? During this time, I've actually been listening to a lot of podcasts. And so sometimes I'll listen to podcasts that are very education based, but sometimes I'm just listening to stuff that's just comedy or just nonsense or just, really fun. And so one of them recently has been a new one called Fake Doctors, Real Friends, which is based on the Scrubs TV show with Brath and Donald Faison. And I love that show and I love their friendship. And so listening to them just talk makes me happy. And so I just will make sure that I'm constantly listening to the podcast just because it brings me a lot of joy. And I'm like walking around in my neighborhood and I'm just like cracking up. And I wonder if people are like, what is she laughing at? But I think seeking out those type of things, find the things that make you happy really fast and do those things. And it'll instantly change your mood right away. It's like playing with a puppy. It's like or like a kitten, as soon as you get one in your hands, your mood will change instantly because they're so play-based. So if you put yourself in a mode of play, you're going to change your feeling overall. And then a lot of those fears are going to just kind of slip back in your mind and maybe go away for a longer period of time.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy. My answer to that question, Scarlett, is, prayer. We have prayer and meditation, but sometimes our fears are so strong. And I'll give you my example. I do not like getting my blood drawn. I'm deathly afraid of it. And I've tried to pray it away and I've tried to meditate it away. And it just doesn't work for me. It's a deep-seated fear. And I create something like whenever I have to get my blood drawn, what I do is I create an event directly after that is something that's going to be fun or joyful or pleasurable. And I focus on that. So I love McDonald's hamburgers. So I'll go give blood and know that I'm going to the drive-through right after. And I focus on that. And it really gets me through. It gives my mind something else to focus on besides this needle going in my arm. And I think that's what you were saying, Amy. You have to shift your focus to something else.
Yeah, me, it's a cupcake.
I love cupcakes. That might be my new go-to when I have to give blood. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see if anybody else has some comments or questions. Let's see. Scarlett, I see that you have a few more, but I'm just seeing if anybody else has some questions. All right, let's look. Scarlett has another one. What is the downside of being she says a workaholic, but I think she means a workaholic. What are the downsides of being a workaholic? Yeah.
The downsides of being a workaholic. I think it's kind of like the concept of if you don't get enough sleep, it's really unhealthy. So I think if you're constantly working all the time, and I mean where you're not involving some sort of playful, element into your work, because you can work all the time and still be playful, right? So you could say I work all the time because I have, this long list of things that I do, but a lot of those things to me are fun, they're play-based. So if I'm creating a story and getting on stage, it may take time out of my schedule and it may seem like I'm working all the time, but to me, that's just pure fun. So, but in terms of being a workaholic and just not doing anything that's play-based, I really feel like it's not just a feeling that you're not well, it's scientifically proven that you're not well. So there's a lot of research that shows the results of a life with play deprivation, it's actually a thing. So, you're going to have increased risk of mental health issues. There's increased risk of suicide. There's increased risk of depression. So your body is going to have physiological negative effects. So there is an actual need for your body to play. And there's also evidence that shows that like it's kind of like if you're not playing, your brain is kind of just shutting down. So when when adults are when humans are children, they grow, their brain is growing at an increased rapid pace, right? So play is very important because it's how they learn. So that's why they're doing it all the time. And then as we get older and become adults, our brain growth slows down. So we don't have as much to do because a lot of the brain growth has completed, but we still do need to play. If we don't, our brain starts to just kind of shut down, and then we're more likely to die earlier, to be honest. So there's actually like a animal that, not an animal, but like a sea creature that will eat its own brain after a while because it stops using it. And so, so that's why it's really important, especially with people who are older, that they constantly are engaging their brain so that they can participate in different activities so that they stay aware and healthy. So I think that if we're not using, involving play in our world and we're constantly just working, we can really hurt ourselves and put ourselves in a position where we do need professional help.
I studied biology, and so I would say, mammals, our brains are built for play. If you look at reptiles, they don't have the same brain structure as we do. So I've heard it said if you take a piece of yarn and you dangle it over a snake who doesn't have that mammal part of the brain, it doesn't want to play. Snakes do not want to play with you. But if you take that same thread and we dangled it in front of your kitten, Amy, who has a mammal brain, it wants to play. It wants to play with it. And so we are built as playful beings.
Yeah.
And good.
Yeah, no, I was actually going to say, they talk about it with the brain growth of, I'm not sure which primate it is, maybe it's chimpanzees. But basically, if you look at the brain growth of some of the primates, their form, like the way faces are shaped when they're little, when they're babies, they look more human-like. But then as they get older, their faces completely change. But when you look at humans, our faces stay very much like babies. Like we still have like the same forehead that they do, that we do as children. And the reason why it's different is because those primates don't play as much when they're older. They're very much in that protective, survival mode. And so they're not nearly as playful, but as humans, we stay being playful our whole lives. So it is really important for us.
So you're telling me I have a baby face, Amy?
Yes.
Thank you. And that you make a really good point, because if you look at people who are very serious throughout most of their lives, their faces, you can see it on their face. You make a very good point. Let's see if anybody else has a question here. I'm enjoying this conversation, by the way, so thank you.
Good. The light is changing in my space. I hope you can still see me.
I love it. Yes, I can still see you. Carla Cody says, during isolation, kids may not see each other much now. So what do you recommend besides video games?
Oh, wow. Well, I rarely recommend video games, just in general. So I'm one of those people who, a lot of people ask me like, oh, what apps do you recommend for children? And I'm like, none. Like, and it's not to say that they're not beneficial. It's just that they already have enough exposure to them that I don't feel the need to recommend more. And so I usually am like, nope, get moving around. I mean, usually the first thing I recommend is movement. And one of the main reasons why is because as children, as babies are brought into this world, the first thing they participate in is movement. And so movement is the first way for you, and even as adults, to really engage in play. So if you're like in a total funk and you don't know how to get out of it, the first thing you should do is get up and go for a walk, or, turn on some music and move around, or just get some movement in your body. So that would be the first thing I would suggest. And a lot of what I do, even when I'm working with children, right now I'm doing it a lot online. So they're on a screen. The first thing I always do is movement-based activities. And before I do anything else with them, even if my whole purpose with working with them is more to do skills that are working with their hands or writing or something like that, the first thing they do is some sort of exercise with me and work on coordination, because that really activates your brain. So I would say that would be one thing I would definitely suggest. But I would think about, like we talked about those play personalities, I would go back and think about what things that they really particularly like. Because you may have a child who's not really movement based, and you may need to move them around, but that may not be something that they're really excited about. So maybe thinking about what ways that they really experience joy and try to do some things related to that. I know it can be, challenging in some ways to find those things, but I would definitely try to just kind of see if you can see a connection. There's some kids who really love collecting things, like they may have like 1,000 cars. Or I used to have a kid who would collect little things that he found in like a playground. He's like a little hoarder in his own way. But if they're artistically inclined, and sit down and draw with them and make some things like that. So I would just think of other ways to play. I don't, video watching is very sedentary. You don't, even kids, sometimes kids that have difficulty with vision, parent will say like, oh, do they have a short attention span? And they're like, well, no, they can watch a video for hours. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't mean you have a good attention span. They're just mesmerized by a TV screen. So you really do got to get them away from the screens as much as possible, especially if they're spending too much time on it now, because now their whole education system is online, and their families are probably watching a lot of movies and things like that. So just trying to find other ways to interact. But movement would be my number one suggestion. And there are a lot of videos even online of, dance routines and things like that, where you can, like kids workout videos are all free online that you can engage in.
And speaking of, as we start to wind down because we're going to run out of time, can you believe how fast that went? Can you tell everyone where they can find you or where they can reach you if they want to get in touch with you?
Sure. So I have a website called Playapy.com, and it's Playapy. And if you don't know, that's just the word play and therapy put together, my own little creation. And so I have blog posts on there, a history of blog posts to read if you just kind of want information. Obviously, those are very related to child development. And I also have, as I mentioned earlier, a YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, you type in Playapy, it'll show you there. You can subscribe to my channel, like my videos. So I've been posting on there about 2 videos a week lately during this time. I had taken a break from them for a little bit, but then I was like, you know what? I have all this creative energy I need to let out. So let me share some of this information. So you can find me there. And if you just want to follow me on social media, I'm often posting just little tidbits about sharing ideas for play. And so I have an account on Instagram, on Facebook, so a little bit of everywhere.
Awesome. And I just want to say, as we begin to wrap this up, I want to thank you again, Amy, for taking your time to share your wisdom with us. But also, I want to say that you really opened my mind to what play is. Like, I had a certain idea of play before this tea time, and now I'm like, okay, I play more than I thought I played.
Isn't it like so freeing?
Yeah.
Like, for me, it was, I mean, it really did change so much for me. Like, and even though I've been in this topic, you know, in this world for 20 years, that's still, and that was more recent for me. I was like, oh my goodness, I never realized how much I do play. Like, maybe I am those people who always play. So I think I'm always looking for ways to make things more joyful.
Yeah.
And even then, I still tend to be considered a very serious person. You know, overall, my demeanor is more of a serious person, but that's because I'm, you know what, my least personality trait is the joker. I'm just not, that's just not my style. You know, occasionally I'll participate in it. I'll share some funny videos, you know, I try, but I'm not a stand-up comedian. So, but that's okay. We don't have to be that type of playful person. You can be something that's uniquely you.
I love that message. That's so unity. Be uniquely you. You're an expression of God, and you're perfect just the way you are.
Exactly.
It's like you've been going to Unity for years, Amy.
Only like 19.
See, I'm the joker. I love joking around.
So I laugh at jokes. Maybe that's a little bit.
Yeah,
that's the joker part. I'm more of the bystander. I'm the watcher of jokes.
Well, thank you again for being here this morning, and thanks to everybody who's joined us. If there was a question that you asked that we didn't get to, we'll answer it in the comments section of this post. So I guess we should tell everybody to have a playful day, right, Amy?
Yeah, you know my tagline.
I've done a little research. So
well,
yes,
actually, you created my logo for that.
Oh, yes, I did. I forgot about that. See, I am a creator. And I love that.
Artist creator.
Well, have a great day, everyone. And I'm going to do something fun and play and create. So
yes,
make it the best day yet. Have a good one.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay, a spiritual community located in Miami, Florida. Unity on the Bay is supported by the generosity of its community. If you'd like to make a donation or learn more about Unity on the Bay, please visit unityonthebay.org. You can also follow Unity on the Bay on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for even more positive spiritual inspiration. Until next time, thanks for listening and many blessings. Namaste.